I heard this morning, it's all about digitization and the way we change in terms of digital revolution. But we still are moving goods around in the physical fashion. That's why I showed the ship. I also thought in Portugal it's a good way to show a ship, because at one time your fleet was the most important in the world, the one sailing out from Lisbon. But today 70% of the exports and imports into Portugal actually come from the EU, and most of them come via train. So the second big theme is change. I don't want to dwell on all the different trends and challenges we see. I mean, these 5 points, you're all familiar with those. Operational productivity needs to improve. We have the pace of innovation, which is constantly accelerating in terms of products and services being changed the way we build them. We have the regulation and compliance, which is going into sustainability now, which for manufacturers and a lot of logistics organizations cause huge problems in terms of footprints. We have the supply chain optimization, the supply chain suffering, which has been accelerated via COVID. Not to mention the fact that since today we are at war. So there's a lot of things which are really changing, but the most fundamental underlying change, which has been picked up by IDC as well, is what we have in terms of customer demands, the shift from a product which is being built, sold, thrown away, and then you buy the next one, into constant services. And I give you one example. How many of the men who are wet shaving know Morning Glory or Harris, any of these brands? Do they sound familiar? It's a very simple story. Wilkinson, Gillette, we all know. Those guys make a lot of margins by selling razor blades off the counter in a newsagent. That's where you go and buy them. These guys have tens of thousands online subscribers now, where they have a bit more aggressive pricing, and they build a subscription service so that you're actually buying the stuff online, not worrying about it anymore with a subscription base. For them, it's recurring revenue. For them, it's also you're spending more because you might buy more and then stock before you actually decide to change the subscription. So it's a good model. Then came the company called Störtebeker. They built on top of that subscription service. They went into experience. They have the hammer swing, back in fashion since Skyfall, James Bond, where he did this thing. And they're selling them at about 100 euro per item in leather, very high end, and they're very successful with that. So people are looking back for that experience. If we look at the change an organization has to make to change from selling a product, which is the best in the world, German automotive industry has been mentioned in the video. Daimler, the old saying, we build the best car in the world, now go in the showroom and get it. That's no longer happening. They go into continuous services, software-driven functionality. The BMW I bought last week actually came out with a lot of functionality I don't own because I haven't subscribed to it. It costs monthly money to get features built on top, and it's not, okay, there's this model, and then I buy the next one, and now it will get the next set of functionality. No, the functionality is actually developed throughout the life cycle process of the car I have, and I can choose every month to pay more money to get more value out of the car if I think this is really valuable to have. So the companies are really shifting, but with that, they have to understand much more about their end user. If we go back to the automotive companies, the only guys who really understand from the OEMs, from BMW, Volkswagen, the ones who really understand the customers are actually the bank. Because the OEM has no direct relationship with the customer, and they're really scared that the likes of Apple and Foxconn will capture that part inside the car where you can build a relationship. So there's a lot of change going on. You have to assess the demand. You have to change your pricing in terms of outcome-orientated pricing, and that ripples through the supply chain. We now have models where we go with our customers in a model, if they are successful, they pay us more, based on the volume generated on the platforms they're using. So that means that the supply chain is also fundamentally changing. We had the distinct phases, research and development, product launch, product retirement. We don't have that anymore. Research and development is software-driven and goes all the way through. And a big part of it is being virtualized. They don't build physical cars anymore to drive them against the wall. They actually do it with models, data-driven models. So there's big changes also on the after-sales and mobility side. So where are the companies actually heading? And in our view, there's 6 points leading to this smart connected factory, leading to the smart connected enterprise. The first one is this big change towards product and services. The second one, well, let me take a step back. We're talking a lot about Industry 4.0. And a lot of companies we see are now implementing in factories, at plants, certain technologies relating to Industry 4.0. Now, while they're struggling to do that, the next thing comes along in terms of sustainability. They haven't digested these technologies, and they haven't got the strategy in place to do it across the production environment. But what's happening now is that there's new pressure to implement, the EU calls it Industry 5.0, where the manufacturing footprint globally is still at the stage of Industry 3.0. What does that mean? It's been built on labor arbitrage. Now, companies are trying to use these smart technologies to make investment decisions, not just in the best plants, in the best machines, in the best equipment and operations, but also in the best locations. Is it better to move my plant out from Mexico, where it was cheap, closer to the customer, so I cut down on transport and transport shipping, introduce the CO2 footprint? I have to go into very complex business-driven workflow algorithms to be able to make those decisions. Most companies can't make these decisions today. So what you need is a consolidated operational business view across your ecosystem. You need a fully networked plant looking across the chain, and a central command and control, some system where all these informations are flowing together in a very standardized way. Take MES, for instance. Many companies have not one MES system, but 6 or 7 different ones. So you have, out of your 30 production plants, you have 15 where you have a good visibility into different sets of KPIs, set and monitored differently by the different MESs. You have 10 where you have more or less visibility, and 5 where you have no KPIs, or you're not leveraging any KPIs. How are you going to compare all your different factories? So standardization is the order of the day, and a lot of companies are looking at how can we actually standardize all the different data from different machine types into one system, so I can make decisions affecting my plant in Mexico the same way as the one in Shenzhen, to be able to compare that. So what if the footprint of your IT infrastructure would actually map that requirement, map that vision, be consistent and work across? And one thing we are offering to help our customers, along with a cloud suite multi-tenant, that means it's fully standardized, and we're adding functionality. If we add functionality, we add it in a standardized way into the cloud, available to all of our customers. If you take that example of the MES system, we can now take one standard across the entire universe, connect it to the ERP. That means that you don't only get predictive analysis decisions, but also decisions into the investment into your machinery. You know, okay, one is starting to ripple quite a bit. Do I actually want to change that? Or is it so old that I want to replace it? And while I'm replacing it, I have 5 other machines of that type in different factories. Do I replace them all? That kind of decision must become possible to optimize the entire ecosystem. So the cloud service of Infor is built on the Amazon Web Services as a basic, fully standardized, fully up-to-date Azure with the the architecture in terms of security, firewalls, etc., load balancing, the ground capacity. On that, we built the core capabilities, the ERP system, coupled with the data management, data lake, and artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, to deploy that, only makes sense if you have a certain scale and standardization and really look across and say, okay, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know what questions I'm asking. Otherwise, you're wasting your time with it. So this is really where we can standardize. The way it works is 60% of the functionality of the cloud suite is already there, is configured. The moment you sign up, you have it available to yourself. There's an extra 30% on top of that, which are features and functions which need to be found and configured. That's no integration. They are there. There's another 10% where we say, okay, this is so specific to your business that we haven't configured it at a default in our cloud. Now, there are two ways of going about it. And that's where we have to sit down with process engineers on both sides and say, okay, how specific is this to your business? How tailored is it to your business, and how much do you want to share, and how much of it can be replicated? Because if there's functionality which is replicated, our way of doing it is not to deliver through integration and consulting, but through our product management. That means via the multi-tenant cloud. That means the next customer will have the same functionality available as well. What that leads us to is, in some markets like automotive, we are in the process of delivering a lot of go-lives right now, stretching our product management, but the cloud functionality is actually improved by the minute with every customer, because they all have something specific where we say, okay, it makes sense to build it into the cloud. And it's a much better way of driving innovation together with the customers than to say, we've thought about some functionality in our own lab, we're going to throw it out to you and see whether you like them. That's not how we work. So to show, we have a full-fledged smart factory in Wichita in the USA, which is built on all these modern technologies I told you about, where all these things are coming together. We have things like data-driven research and development. The production is virtual. There's a print integrated into the manufacturing to have a look and see how that works. There's augmented workforce efficiency. We have this parallel working between robots working in parallel with people, where we're testing also things like the importance of the 5G network and the latency according to that. So a full-fledged factory showcase to put, as we say in German, butter by the fishes. So we're not just talking, we're also delivering on that. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Okay, Henning, thank you very much.
And otherwise, obrigado.
Thank you.
Thank you.